Want to make your money work harder? Enjoy another video with Adam Kahn, the rational investor on stocks, real estate, and crypto. Subscribe now for your weekly dose of investment insights and hopefully learn a thing or two.
Hello, my YouTube friends, and happy Saturday. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you all had a great week. A couple of rough days at the end of the week, if you watch the market on a daily basis. A couple of big down days, but as usual, nothing to worry about. The goal of everybody should be to save for our futures, put away no matter what's going on in the markets, and when there are drops, see that as opportunity and hope that the drops don't become big and scary and anything else. Now, obviously, things can always change, but to be fair, nothing has really changed over the past few weeks or days or whatever. So the ups and downs of the markets and the daily moves are generally just emotions, and there can be really big swings in either direction because of this. But overall, the trend lately has been higher. Don't really see any reason that would change, but as always, when you guys make financial decisions, you need to do your own research and not listen to me. My stuff's just for information and educational and for entertainment purposes only. I would seek financial advice from a financial planner or somebody of that nature when making your financial decisions. Now, some things look really attractive, some things look really scary. Do I think Amazon is going to fall in half over the next few weeks or months or year or whatever it is? No. I think their earnings have been good. I think things are going just fine. And I would stick to the companies that you think are the best. The thing is, deep down, unless there's a big correction in terms of employment and we have unemployment get really bad, or something along those lines, or the wars that are going on escalate and there become real problems, I don't really see much changing. I see the rhetoric in the news always being scary, and the people who I watch on YouTube, some of them who talk about real estate that I've been listening to it for the past 3 years, about high interest rates, expensive prices, the market has to correct. I don't know that that's really accurate. I think Florida is going to have and is having some Florida specific things going on. But on the flip side, Las Vegas has its Las Vegas things going on. And I think people have really found us and recognized it's a great place to live. And the values are because that was behind the curve. My guess is that COVID sped some of this stuff up. And I don't really see things changing. I watched one of my favorite guys. He was showing a video of Barbara Corcoran and what she was talking about in the real estate. And to be fair, she talked about how this month is the best opportunity and you only have 1 month to do it. I would say that that's a little hyperbolic, and I don't know that you only have 1 month. But typically, this time of year, we get a little bit slower. And the interesting thing is, we don't seem to be. But there does seem to be a little bit more inventory, and I think that could be an opportunity. Now, I agree with them on one hand, rates are high, prices seem high, but that seems to be continuing, and every year it tends to go up a little bit higher, and I'm shaking my head, confused as everybody else, but I don't see any reason for that to change. I don't know why we would have a big correction unless something panics the sellers. More inventory isn't really a panic. That's more of a slowdown and consolidation of pricing, is the way I would look at it. And maybe you see a distress sale here and there, but you don't see a real correction in prices typically. Maybe you'll get a small one if that even comes, but maybe Barbara's right as well, and you see it go higher. You have to make that decision, see what fits best. It's more that I hate when those videos come out scaring people out of markets, because I'd rather people save for their future, whether that's buying a home, whether that's buying stock, whether that's putting money into other alternative investments, metals and Jesus, even Bitcoin. How about how that's been going the past few weeks? And to be fair, if things change and they get some regulations passed, it's possible it'll continue higher. And once it makes new highs, it tends to get really parabolic and go pretty far. Uh, I get nervous with Bitcoin because the moves are so extreme and there's really no way to evaluate any value of it. It's just kind of what people agree it's worth more than anything else, and that's a hard way to judge the value of something other than watching the price action and making a guess like everybody else. If Bitcoin does become part of our reserves, it really could go either direction, because it could be an opportunity for them to be able to buy more Bitcoin and it push those reserves up and increase the value of our worth so that we could actually pay off some of the debt. or potentially it creates an opportunity to be able to sell some of the Bitcoin that's been confiscated over the years, which could drive the market lower. Interesting either way. I'll be excited to see how it plays out. For selfish reasons, I hope that Bitcoin goes to $10 million a coin, but I don't really see that happening. That's just a fantasy. And I think, to be fair, a lot of people who own Bitcoin have a similar type of, attitude just because of what it did in the past. And as people always say, past performance is not a prediction of future performance. But you look at it, and I mean, the low was 6 cents, and it's trading over 90,000 a coin. Now, to be fair, my memory of it, I don't remember it being any cheaper. Like, my first time being aware that it existed was when it made highs around $400 a token, and people were getting excited about it. Now, that's a long time ago, and it's obviously moved pretty far from then. And I know others remember it even lower, but I don't even remember anything about it before then, and I wasn't in the position to buy it. So I used to play a lot of poker. I still play from time to time. I remember a lot of the poker players were really into it, and me asking about what it was, and then I started asking, well, how do you buy it? And they started telling me, like, it sounded extremely difficult. I don't remember there being Coinbase at that time. Nobody could said you could just go on your phone and do this or that, or your computer. They had all of these steps you had to be able to do, and I am not the most computer savvy guy, which is why, sitting in my yard doing the video with my phone and things like that. So it was way above my pay grade, so to speak. Obviously, now it's a lot easier. Anybody can open an account on a phone, or whatever it is that they like, and buy this one or that one or whatever. So that's changed as well. But either way, I guess I'm excited to see what'll happen. I just don't see the moves being as extreme as they have been in the past, but maybe I'm pleasantly surprised. In the world of stocks, it looked like some things. I mean, it's hard to imagine Hershey's isn't a good value where it's trading now. I really am working on making my own personal portfolio a little more, pointed towards the companies I think are the best ones. So keep in mind, even when I'm suggesting some of these, I'm not really putting on the positions. It's just things that I've noticed, because I'm not looking to expand into additional companies and get too diluted. I'd rather really focus on the ones I love, like Amazon and Google and Costco and Meta. And when I see pullbacks, maybe if I'm adding on to a position, add on to those, then worry about expanding out and finding new ones. I just happen to notice that Hershey continues to make new lows and got beat up pretty good on Friday or Thursday, and got pushed down further. I am holding on to the Boeing position, so if some of you are curious, I continue to sell calls against it. What I've done is I've gone out for some of them. I'm selling January calls, and usually I do weekly, but I move further out because it's after their next earnings. It still had some value in it, and I was able to get some decent prices on some of the same price calls that I were selling that were more closer to, a week out, same strikes and everything else. The interesting thing is, I don't know that it works out any better, but I have to pay less attention to it, which is kind of nice. As it's been going against me, I'd rather pay less attention to it. I'm guessing that Spirit Airlines having some trouble is part of what's pulling the stock lower. At the same time, they're getting past a lot of the negative news, and I think when we look out 6 months or a year, which is where I try to keep my brain focused on, even though it's hard not to get emotional like everybody else over the short term moves. Now, maybe Boeing's problems continue to get worse. Maybe it pushes the stock down to 100 or 80. I still don't really see them going out of business, but as I've said, I guess you never know what could happen. I just think they're in a moat, and they're something that the government's not going to want to lose, and they'll continue to be able to figure a way through it and eventually have some upside. Now, some of the drug companies have been getting pulled lower with the new changes that have been going on, and the concern that maybe the profits will be cut or what they're able to charge patients as we change to a new administration. Um, I, I think that could be true, but a lot of times there's some negotiations going on, and there becomes government subsidies to offset the discounts to the patients. Now, maybe that won't be the case this time. Maybe they'll really be forced to lower their margins and make less money. But in the long run, again, these companies have weathered any type of, situation. They've been around an awful long time. They've dealt with different administrations. They've dealt with different economic cycles. And my guess is, as you sit around and wait it out, they'll work through these as well. I just don't try to worry day in and day out. And if one portion of my portfolio or whatever it is doing really poorly, hopefully there's something else that's making up for it that's doing really well. And they tend to reverse when times change. Like if the economy does get worse, my guess is those ones that have been struggling might actually hold up pretty well because they've already had a lot of selling pressure. And the stocks that are doing really well might have a nice pullback and create opportunity that way. I find that stocks doing poorly when the economy is doing well tend to reverse and do the opposite as things change. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe not, but it'll be interesting. So, one of the things that I keep wanting to talk about that I haven't gotten into, I've seen a lot of videos lately about when the Fed cuts rates that the recession comes within the next 6 months to a year. That has been true in the past, but you have to look back to the times that they've cut and what was going on around those times. They were cutting at the housing crisis. They were cutting at the internet bubble. They were cutting when there was like oil problems. So a lot of times when they're cutting, there are problems going on in the economy that they're cutting to try to offset the problems that they see ahead. Now, right now, they've started cutting because they think they're a little too restrictive. They see unemployment rising and they figure they need to balance it out a bit. That's not really the same situation as a banking crisis, housing collapsing, the economy falling apart, so we're cutting because things are really bad. Right now, they're really just tweaking where they were because they held it restrictive for longer than was necessary. And as the economic data is changing, Powell's getting, a little concerned that he's not in any hurry to cut too quickly. I think that's probably the right thing to do because, if CPI continues to go higher and the inflation comes back and it starts becoming a new issue, then they're going to have to decide what they want to address more. Is unemployment catching itself? Is the economy actually heating up? Is it in a position where the inflation's legitimately going up and the economy's heating as well? So there's just no reason to cut and maybe we need to be more restrictive again. That's a different scenario than the previous cuts. And I don't really see the current cuts causing a recession. And if we happen to have one in 6 months or a year, I don't think it's a correlation. I think it's just a random act. Now, if it happens to be because of unemployment and they didn't manage the situation properly, sure, you could attach them. But it's a lot different than the previous cuts and why we had recessions, which is also one of the reasons I'm not really one of those big gloom and doomers. I just don't see it coming. And I really stand by that time in the market is more important than timing the market. I would hate to see people waiting and waiting and waiting for some big correction as the market continues to go higher. If you buy right now and the market collapses and you still have a job and you continue to invest, well, you'll just buy more things at better prices when the market corrects than what you're paying now, and sure, you overpaid. At least for me, that's a much better situation than not being invested, sitting on the sidelines because I'm too scared to invest, and not participating if the economy gets better and if these things go higher, which, at least for now, seems to be the direction in what's going on. I wouldn't get leveraged, I wouldn't overdo it, I would stay within a budget, I would be cautious about all of it, because sure, there's a lot of good data points as to why there could be a big correction. Just if it doesn't come, do you really want to be sitting and waiting? The other thing I try to pay attention to is just opening my eyes and looking around. I'm curious, whatever you guys do for your job, is work slow? Is it busy? Is it normal? Like, where is it in that trend? Because what I find is most people I know who work regular jobs, they're super busy at their jobs. Now, I work in the real estate market and prices have been higher as well as rates, so we've slowed down, but I think that's understandable, which is why I talk to other people. And then when I go out, if I go to a restaurant or if I go down to the casinos, things are still booming. Places are crowded. The bars are busy and people are waiting in line. The restaurants are full. Now, of course, some smaller places that aren't as well known seem to be struggling, but that's an economy, and that tends to always be the case, and nothing that really surprises me. I'm surprised when I look at the prices. I hate inflation like everybody else, but I feel like most people are in the same boat. Nobody likes the inflation, but they're not going to stop their lives either. Now, for anybody who's made it this late, thank you. Tomorrow, I wanted to do this earlier in video. Maybe I'll do a real quick something and just stick it at the beginning too. But tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be doing a live video. It's pretty cool how many people showed up last week. I hope some of you can show up again this tomorrow. Um, Hope your week was really good. I hope to see you tomorrow. Anyway, it's a good ending. It's freezing out today despite me living in the desert. I know everybody thinks it's always 150 degrees. That isn't really true. It's actually a really nice place to be. And for me now, freezing is running into like the 50s or 60s, which I guess for a lot of people isn't so freezing, but things change. Anyway, do me a favor if you haven't before, hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you thought about that intro. I did it with NVIDIA AI. I've been playing with it a little bit and having some fun, but I decided to try to do an intro scene, and let me know what you think of it. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, make some comments, and let me know how your week was.